One day, there was a very calm day on the sea. Some fishermen were sailing in their boats when a beautiful girl appeared before them. One of them was amazed by how pretty she looked, and it seemed as if he were bewitched until his son saved him by scaring the girl away. The father said, "What are you doing, son? I love her, she is the love of my life." And he called out to the woman again. Here we realize that she is actually a mermaid who enchanted men. And it wasn't just her, a Triton also appeared, who put the fishermen to sleep with magic. In another place, some scientists detected the energy released by the Triton. Here we meet Professor Lee and Fan. The professor is happy because he has spent 30 years trying to find mermaids to prove to the world that they do exist, and it was finally his time to return with the fishermen. It turns out that the Triton was the chief of the mermaids and only put the fishermen to sleep to erase their memories so they could go home because they must not allow humanity to know about the existence of mermaids. At that moment, the scientists' boats arrived because they wanted to catch a mermaid. Fan managed to shoot one to sleep so they could take it, but the Triton chief would not allow it, so he used his water control to knock Fan off the boat. I call that a good shot. The other scientists managed to take the mermaid while Fan fell into the sea. Later, he wakes up on an island and a girl named Yu tells him she rescued him, and since she saved his life, they must engage and marry according to the rules of her village. Fan thinks the girl is crazy and wants to leave, but outside he finds some very strange masked people who detain him. The chief of the tribe mentions that according to the will of God, she saved him, and according to the rules, he must marry immediately, and if he does not agree, they will leave him cold. So he gives Yu a bracelet for her to put on her boyfriend, but Fan rejects it, so the chief gives him a slap. Now he lets the girl put the bracelet on him, and in this way, they get married. They spend the night together, and Fan takes advantage of the dawn to escape from that island. He found a stranded boat on the shore and set off on his journey. When he was already at sea, he asked God which direction he should go. Yu came out of her hiding place because she would not allow her husband to abandon her. Destiny united them, and they had to go together. In another place, we see the mermaid who was captured. Her name is Meng, and she is locked up in an aquarium inside a secret laboratory. After a long journey, Fan arrived at his apartment in the city, and Yu was very happy and curious about everything in the city. He tells her that she can stay for the night, but in the morning she must leave. Yu pretends to be sad because they are supposed to be married, but he is still thinking about abandoning her. Then he agrees that she can stay longer. Before going to sleep, she takes a bath, and here we discover that she is also a mermaid. It turns out that she saved Fan from drowning and brought him to her people. The mermaids were not in agreement and wanted to kill them. So Yu told the chief that they can't do that because Fan is the lead investigator at the Oceanography Institute, and perhaps through him they could save Meng. So Yu was chosen to go with the human and gain his trust. In the morning, Fan wakes her up, and she tries to make advances toward the boy. Fan goes to work and Yu tries to follow him but ends up getting lost in the streets. The protagonist arrived at his job and everyone was surprised that he was alive because they thought he was dead. Here the professor arrives, who is happy to see him alive. Fan tells them that he was saved by an indigenous girl who took him to her island. Then the old professor takes him to the laboratory where they have the mermaid trapped. The old man tells him that according to the first investigations they discovered that within the body of the mermaids, there is a powerful toxin that can control humans and erase their memories. Fan does not agree with this idea and believes that they should focus the research on improving the marine ecosystem and its way of life, not something harmful. So both scientists start to argue. The professor calms them down and orders that the research will be directed by Fan, as was planned from the beginning. Fan returns home and discovers that Yu is not there, so he goes to look for her and asks people if they have seen her. This way he arrives at a bar where he finds her drinking with some hooligans who were planning to take her away. The protagonist defends her but they give her a beating. Later, at home, Fan gives her a cell phone so that she can call him and not get lost. But she rejects it and instead asks him to take her to work so she can learn the place and not get lost again the next morning. Fan takes her to a clothing store to dress her nicely. Afterwards, they arrive at the research center, and after a while, Yu tells him that she will go home on her own. But in reality, she wanted to find her mermaid sister. On the other hand, the professor shows Fan the new discovery that they found, that when the mermaid comes out of the water, the lower half of her body becomes legs. But as soon as her legs get wet, they turn into a fishtail. Yu sneaks into the secret laboratory and finds the mermaid. So she pretends to be lost and approaches her, communicating through sound waves. Fan begins to suspect that Yu could be an undercover mermaid, and the professor asks him to investigate. She screams at his friend to leave because it is very dangerous, and Fan ends up taking Shayu away. They go to the supermarket, and there she hears the voice of one of his friends. She separates from the protagonist and meets the person who was sent by the chief to support her in whatever she needs. That night, they prepare dinner. Shayu has a flashback and remembers that the chief gave her a bottle of mermaid toxin to cause hallucinations in humans. He also gave her a magic pearl that would prevent her legs from turning into a tail when they touch water, and it also has healing power. The protagonist sets a trap for her and wets her legs, hoping that it will turn into a tail, but that does not happen, thanks to the pearl that she carries. Fan tells her that when he was a child, his mother died and a while later his father fell into a coma due to a car accident. On her part, Shayu tells him that she was raised by her sister, but a while ago, while they were sailing on the sea, she disappeared in an accident. Fan encourages her, telling her that she will soon find her sister, and she tells him that his father will recover soon. After drinking a little, they both ended up feeling sick and with hallucinations. In the morning, they woke up in the same bed and then went for a walk while Ankang was chasing them. Shayu went away and found Ankang, who scolded her because they should have already released the mermaid. She asks him to give her time. That night, Shayu and Fan went out to eat, and she participated in a singing contest. There, Fan felt that he was falling in love with her. After the contest, he gave her a very special bracelet that was his mother's and declared his love for her. However, at that moment Ankang appears to hit him with a hammer because he thought he was hurting her. With Fan unconscious, they entered the laboratory to free the mermaid, but they were discovered by the security guards and had no choice but to face them. Ankang was captured and told Shayu to escape. Fan woke up and the professor tells him that something is happening in the laboratory. On her part, Shayu returned to the sea and informed the boss that Ankang was captured. The boss gets angry and blames her for everything. He also orders her to never have contact with Fan again because humans only know how to destroy and cannot coexist together. The professor and Fan arrive at the laboratory where Ankang is being held captive and tortured to give information. The professor shows him the security camera videos where the accomplice was Shayu. Fan mentions that she cannot be a mermaid because he poured water on her and no tail appeared. They have taken the opportunity to take Fan's phone and install a tracking application. The professor orders him to bring his girl to be tested and confirm it. Later, Fan returned to his apartment and found Shayu who had disobeyed her boss because she had something to say to Fan. But at that moment, the protagonist was called to the hospital because his father's condition had worsened. Both went to the hospital and the surgeon reported that they had to perform a costly operation soon. Meanwhile, Shayu was trying to heal Fan's father with her powers and magically the father woke up from the coma. In the meantime, the professor received the signal from Fan's phone and arrived at the hospital with his accomplices. Fan realizes the danger and escapes with Shayu so that they will not capture her, and while running, she tells him a legend about the lighthouse guardian and a mermaid. According to the legend, people believe that mermaids are evil sea monsters that use their singing to attract ships passing by, and the duty of the lighthouse guardian was to protect the passing ships. The guardian wanted to catch a mermaid until one day he fell into the sea. When he woke up, he discovered that a mermaid had saved him. There he learned that they have a simple and kind nature and actually use their beautiful voices to guide lost ships and have always been misunderstood by humans. Finally, the guardian and the mermaid fell in love and promised that no matter what, they would not abandon each other and would be together for life. They arrived at the sea and he asked her if she was a mermaid. Perhaps the legend that he told could be what was happening to them. When she was going to respond, she remembered the words of the chief, then she reveals her identity and everything she did to save him and get married. It was just a ploy to gain his trust and use him. He tells her that these are lies. He believes that she really does love him, although she responds that they can't be together because humans and mermaids are enemies. And from that moment on, they are also enemies. After that, she jumps into the sea. The professor manages to grab her, but it's too late. The mermaid escapes, and the protagonist is left very sad with the chief. And although she disobeyed him, he forgives her life, but this time, for real. Truly, he never has to see her again. The truth is that she also loved and missed him. Fran didn't stay with his arms crossed and went to the island to see his girl. The chief wanted to beat him with clubs, but Shayu stops him. Fan doesn't want to be his enemy and has a plan to enter the laboratory and save those who are trapped. The chief doesn't trust him and thinks it could be a trap to catch everyone. However, they believes him, so the little mermaids go to the laboratory. Here, the Professor Lee appears, mentioning that Fan did an excellent job tricking the mermaids into falling into the trap. But in reality, the traitor was the professor because Fan released a toxic gas that put the professor and his accomplices to sleep. This is how the mermaid saved Mamie, but the thing didn't end here. The old professor had returned more powerful than ever. What happened was that he used a toxin fluid to get all that power. So the old man starts to go crazy on everyone. He seemed invincible now. He was hurting Shayu. Fan tried to stop him but received a tremendous madrazo, and the chief took advantage of the distraction to capture the old man with a chain. Shayu tells Fan that she wants to be with him forever and asks him not to die. Although, unfortunately, Fan goes with San Pedro. Shayu remembers that she has the magic pearl of the sea, but using it to bring him back to life will have a high cost. She and all the mermaids will be weakened, and also Fan will lose her and will forget her forever, but that doesn't matter to her. She just wants him to be well. A short time later, Fan wakes up in the hospital and sees his father at his side. The protagonist finds out that the professor was arrested for crimes against the marine environment, all feeling that he had a strange dream. And the more he tried to remember, the bigger the void in his heart. In the last scene, he looks at the sea with the feeling that something very special is missing there, but maybe he will never see her again. The movie ends here. If you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.